So the vision we created together was about learning to light the way. We created these words to talk about the importance of courage, compassion and respect, excellence in learning, our ambition for the teaching that we have in here, and the idea that all of those things light the way to a world of possibilities. We've talked a lot about relationships tonight, and our vision includes the fact that relationships are at our core. And this vision is underpinned by a Bible verse. We're a Church of England school, and we shared that with you last year. And this is the Bible verse that underpins our vision. It's about a city on a hill, and the light that gives to the community, and the fact that that light can't be hidden, and that we want children to share their abilities with our community. And our core values then, that we talk every day to the children about: courage, compassion and respect. And I wonder whether or not your children have talked to you about those words. They keep coming up to me at the moment because we've got badges on, which are on my lanyard at the moment, but you'll start to see them around our community. We have our respect badge, our courage badge and our compassion badge, and children will be receiving these badges. Some of the children at the end of this term, one child in school who's shown real courage has already got one of these badges. So they're excited about that, and we use that on our Friday in assemblies. So a year on, I think our vision and our values have become really embedded in who we are as a school. Tonight's about those sort of next steps and where we go next with that vision and what that means next for us. And part of the work that we've done on creating our values and creating our vision is looking back at the foundations of our school. So we've looked back at the fact that we've got that close link with St Peter's Church. We think, from talking to Mike Warren, our vicar, that the church was originally held in the old school building in St Peter's. Historical records show that the school was built before the church was built, but we know that there was a church community there. And then later the church itself was built alongside that. So although the school finally moved in 2021 after many years of build up to a new building and the expansion of the school, it's really important to us that that link with St Peter's Church is as important now as it was before the move. So at the time of the move, there was considerable discussion about the identity of the new school and how important the link with the church was and how we could retain that link. And discussion took place at the time about adopting the church's logo, which you can see up there, to sort of visibly retain that link with the church. So tonight I want to share a bit more about that journey and the idea of that branding of the school and where we go next with that. So we started by looking at the logo for St Peter's Church and discussing this with Mike Warren, our vicar. And Mike explained that the church brand was originally designed by a member of the congregation, and it's a starburst. And that starburst purposefully points inwards, but it also points outwards, and that reflects the work that the church feel it does with its own community and looking outwards to the community beyond. And we felt when we were having our discussions about vision last year that this inward and outward approach really appealed to us, and it aligned with our vision of being able to enable all of our community to flourish, whilst making a difference on a wider, more global basis. And therefore we wanted to think about including this aspect in our new brand and show our desire to still be closely linked with St Peter's Church. So we thought about the foundation of the church and the important link with St Peter's Church, and we looked at sort of the history. So as I said, the school was originally founded in 1842, and this is the oldest photo we can find. 1911 shows the children on the old playground in Victorian clothes, and at that time it looks like it's a very, very tiny school, even smaller than it was when some of you may be more familiar with it. And then the next point in that journey is there in 1992, and these pictures are available for you to go and look at in the library afterwards. And we thought sort of closely about that and looked at those old photos, and you can see if you look more closely, in 1992, the school's grown from that Victorian time, and they do have a uniform by that time, and that uniform is a white shirt with a red and black tie. And I spoke to Mrs. Gorham earlier this week and asked her if she had any idea what the school logo was at that time in 1992, and she she didn't. She had to contact the previous head teacher who had actually designed the windmill logo. And he said that it was originally a shield that had an SP on it, and the ties were that red and black ties. So it's really interesting looking back into the history. By 1996, the new logo at the time, the windmill, had just been introduced. It was introduced by the head teacher before Mrs. Gorham, and that's a sort of a period of change where some of the children are wearing the original uniform, which was the red and black ties, and some are wearing the new uniform at the time that had the logo of the windmill that we're all familiar with. And then by 2007, we start seeing some familiar faces. Mrs. Alden's in that picture. I think Mrs. Charles in that picture as well. And the children are all wearing the logo that we're more familiar with. So that logo really sort of, by 2007, was established. And then we know in 2021, the school moved to Hawkenbury. So we know that the street that the school was on was called Windmill Street, and we know that at some point in the history of Tunbridge Wells there was a windmill on this street, and we understand that it was a smock mill. It was built way before the school was built, the church was built, and then it was demolished before the church was actually built. And that smock mill is a mill that grinds corn, and we know that there was a bakery in Windmill Street as well. So that's sort of going right back into the history of where that, why the street's called Windmill Street. So the windmill was actually demolished long before the church came into existence there, but it obviously had that legacy of the name. So we thought about who we are now. That's sort of history of where we've come from, and what we want our school to represent now. And we feel that we're on a real journey still. So we know that we're on a journey where we've got those links with Jesus Church. We've had that time when we've thought about our school values and identified what's really important to us, and those values are working really well. We've created that vision of being that light, leading the way, and we're at that point where we have become an eco school. Environmental impact is really important to us. Education is really important to us. The children and their flourishing and their development. And now we know that we're on that journey to becoming a nurture school. Inclusion is so key here. And we've just heard all about our journey with RSA as well. So that is the journey that we're on. And when we started thinking about our vision last year and what that would be, one of the activities that the staff did and the governors did was actually start to try and do a visual representation of what that looks like today, now, here in this new building, and think about who we are visually. So some of the images that were drawn were cupped hands, which links really well with the nurture, books, nature, pathways. Some of our staff are very creative and artistic, so we had some really lovely ideas. And at this point, we asked if there were any parents in our community who might be prepared to work with us to think about our brand and our design. And we put that out to all of the parent community. And we were really delighted when Eva offered to work with us. So Eva operates in the business management industry. Eva, if you don't know, is a mum of 2 girls at our school, and she really kindly offered to take on this project. And we've been absolutely delighted to work with Eva and her company over the last year, and it has been hours and hours of work, and months of work, and which Eva has really kindly given her time to. So, just want to say thank you to you. Really, really grateful for all the effort and sort of commitment and passion that you've put into it. Eva's been extremely patient with all of us. As she's helped us work on this project, we've shared the ideas at all stages. So things have gone into the office to Mrs. Page and to Mrs. Smith and to Mrs. Jenner, to everybody. Mrs. Page has got a really good idea for design, so I've said, what do you think about this? And she's like, And so it's been really, really great working with everybody, and until we've sort of reached a point where we came to a final design. But I wanted to share with you the journey that we've all been on. It starts with a mood board. And that started with Eva going all around the school, taking lots of photos, looking at colours, looking at what is around us in nature. So these are the woods that are full of bluebells that are around the school. We're so lucky to be on the edge of Tunbridge Wells, surrounded by those beautiful woods. looking at our link with the church and listening to me and hearing that that's still really important to us. Our vision for education and the vision that we want to be offering the children inspiring, exciting education. And our ambition for all the children is at the heart of that. And from that, Eva went away and came back and presented this to me and said, these are the colours, there's language behind colours and there's meaning behind colours, and this is who I feel you are as a school and what you're explaining. And it was amazing because at the same time, the nurture room was being developed, and without even seeing the visual board, Kat and Mrs. Jenner came up with exactly the same colours for the nurture room. So then Eva walked into the nurture room and said, "Have they seen the mood board?" And we said, "No." So it obviously worked. So then Eva came and said to me, "Right, I've done an initial design, and it's not going to be the finished product, and you're probably not going to like all of the elements of it, but I want to know what you like in it and what your thoughts are." So this is where we started, and I was a bit disappointed when I first saw it. I was like, oh, that's not really what I imagined. And Eva said, what I want to know is the little tiny details that you think represent the school and who you are. So I looked at it and I thought about it, and I said, well, the hands are really important, and the hands actually came up from the staff's drawings, and I think that idea of being inclusive and cupped hands is really key to who we are. And I like the starburst, the light in the middle, because that is who we are. We're trying to light that way, and it links with the church as well, so I like that. I really like the bluebells and the nature. That's really important to us as a school, and bluebells have got a lot of imagery behind them as well. They stand for integrity and truth, and so I like that element. And the book as well I liked, because obviously the library is so important, and reading and all of that, so I didn't know if that was very helpful, because I sort of said, well, I like it all, but not like that. So Eva went away and did a completely different design, which is this. And I looked at that and I thought, oh, okay, that's completely different. But I still like the cupped approach. I like the inclusivity of that, and I like the nature. But I'm not sure I quite like that. You can see how she had to be really patient. And then she went on and did the next thing. So she took elements of that, the hands that I felt were really key to who we were, and then the nature represented within that second design, and she continued to develop it. And then she started looking at the shapes that were created, and being a little bit more abstract about that. And we talked about whether or not I felt that we should be branded in a sort of quite traditional way, maybe as it was historically, with a shield and an SP, as some of the schools in Tunbridge still are branded in that very traditional way, or whether or not we wanted to be sort of more contemporary, like the image that we have at the moment, which just sort of stands alone. And we talked around that, and then from that we started introducing those elements, and we came up with this, which was our first sort of design that we felt was getting closer to what we wanted. So we still maintained those hands, and the parts that the bluebells were growing on were the thumbs of the hands, so where the hands are together and the thumbs are coming up. And so I really liked the thought behind that. The bluebells, as it says there, have just such lovely meaning that we felt really linked with the school. So they're about growth and resilience. They're like the bluebells. The bluebells come back every year. Our school is nurturing that spirit of continuous growth and resilience, encouraging all the students to flourish and reach their potential. That learning to light the way, the shape of the bluebells, their delicate blooms, is like representing like the lamps that are lighting on that path, and the connection to nature. So bluebells are all around the school in the native woodlands, and we felt that had a real link to our eco status. So we felt that we were getting closer to where we wanted to be. And then we added the light in the centre. The original design, I really liked the light. and that links to the church, but we also wanted to think about the windmill and the historic links to Windmill Street and to our history. And although the windmill as a logo only came about in the sort of mid-90s, it is an important chunk of time for the school, so we wanted to sort of retain that. So adding that central starburst, we felt represented that journey that the school's going on and guiding the way for the children, but also went back to the legacy of the windmill and had the hints to that in the lines that look a bit like the sails from the original windmill design. So we felt again that we were sort of getting closer to our final idea. And then we really thought about the colours. The colours that we eventually settled on have got real meaning. So that deep blue, it looks a bit black there, but it is blue, it's a deep blue. And that symbolises trust and confidence and stability. So we know that our existing colour in school is navy blue, and it conveys a sense of strength, calmness and focus, and it fosters a reassuring atmosphere as well. In the starburst in the centre, there's that gold, and the yellow, and we feel that really represents that optimism, warmth and inspiration, creativity and joy that we feel that we have in school. And finally, the soft muted blue of the bluebells signifies serenity and harmony and growth, and we felt that that's really key to the school as well. Came up with a primary finished logo. So this is the primary logo, and the primary logo is used in certain aspects of the school's branding, and may go on policies and be seen around the school. So that's the primary logo, and then there's the branding, which you can see here. And this brand mark is a brand mark that would be used on uniform and used on letterheads, where it doesn't need to signify St Peter's School. So, for example, above the stage here, we could add in our values as well. So this is the brand mark that we settled on. This this gives you an idea of just how that brand mark would look on various products around school that we might have branded, so letterheads, water bottles, just to give us an idea, coffee cups. Lastly, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Eva. I have got you a little white mark, so thank you. Because Eva has, this is Eva's company, this is her work, and she has done this completely for free. This is her donation to the school, and honestly, it's been over a year's worth of work, so thank you very much for everything you've done. Really, really grateful to you.